So I recently tested this Coil Shock right here on my enduro bike. I was amazed at how good it performed, and that got me thinking, I should test this Coil Shock on my e-bike right here. This is the Polygon Collosus N8E. It's an enduro style full suspension e-bike with 160 millimeters of travel in the front and in the rear. And luckily for me, this bike has the same exact 205 by 65 rear shock that will fit the DHX2 I got for my enduro bike. So today we're testing air versus coil shock. Which one is better on an e-bike? So quick shout out to Bikes Online and The Lost Co. This video is not sponsored, but we got some amazing sales right now. This Polygon Collosus N8E e-bike is just over $3,800 for that. You're getting a Shimano EP801 motor, Shimano XT drivetrain, XT brakes, Fox suspension, and I actually saw on the Lost Co's website right now, this Fox DHX2 shock is on sale. I think it's like $179 off. I got links down there in the description. Those affiliate links help support the channel and help me continue to make more videos like this. You want to hook up the tow rope? Let's try it out. Gotta get my filmer up the mountain. Stretch it out. My first time using this.
Is it?
Yeah, figure with the e-bike, may as well see what it's all about. It working?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Maxed out. Turbo 7 out of 7 mode. Still getting up it way quicker than regular mountain bike. I kind of like going out and filming a video with an e-bike. So much faster. So here's how this is gonna go down. I'm gonna bring my bike down here, follow along, Colton. So setting my bike down right there, we're gonna start with the super technical climb challenge. We're gonna be climbing up this super technical terrain and then bombing back down through this technical chunk.
Oh shit. Oh no.
What that's gonna allow us to test is the overall wheel traction. You see, a coil shock, the difference between like coil and air, you're talking to that linear versus progressive spring rate. So on a coil shock, it's much more linear. It's just gonna continue to move freer. It's gonna move a lot quicker off the top, which gives you that great rear wheel traction. And that's really why I wanted to test it on this e-bike, because e-bikes, you need that traction when you're plowing up these technical climbs. So step one, technical climb up. Colton's gonna follow me. We're gonna see how far I make it on this. What's the difference on the air shock? Coming bombing back down. We'll see how this air shock feels on the technical on the way back down. Then we'll head over to a flow trail, flow and jump trail, to test the air shock around these corners, down through that flow trail, over these jumps. Then we'll swap out to coil, do everything all over again, air versus coil, which one comes out on top. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. That traction's coming into play. All right, air shock on the way uphill. You could definitely feel there's some spots where the back wheel was losing grip, especially as I got up towards the top right here and it got really steep. So it'll be interesting to see how much better that coil shock performs on that technical uphill climb. So next we're gonna be doing this technical downhill section. You can see all these rocks, these kind of roots, this technical chunk on the way down. Line choice is critical. With that air shock, it's got that progressive kind of suspension rate. So as you get deeper into that travel, it's gonna really ramp up. And when you're on those brakes in sections like this where it drops, you know, over hip high and stuff, it's really gonna test that rear suspension. And I think I'll really be able to feel the difference with air versus coil on this technical descent. Let's get it. Drop in.
Oh shit. What? Oh no. I gotta redo that.
I feel like I need to like tighten up those chest straps. The freaking camera started like, I felt it flapping, and just the YouTuber in me, I was like, oh no, this chesty footage is gonna be ruined. or at least that's my excuse. And then immediately I took my eyes off the trail in front of me and only took a second on that trail, just fucking losing my line. All right, let's try that again. Round 2, drop in. All right, eyes out in front. And get that line. Technical section on the way down, air shock. You could definitely feel spots where that back tire was bouncing around, especially as I hit the brakes or when I went through those more technical, really chunky, rocky sections. You could feel that back tire kind of hopping around. So we'll see how the Coil Shock does on that technical descent. But right now, it's time to head down this lizard trail, jump and flow trail, and see how this air shock does compared to the coil on the flow and the jumps. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and throw this Coil Shock on the bike. I can tell you right there when I was going through that jump and flow trail, off the jumps when I'm pumping, I like the firmness and the progressiveness of this air shock. When you push into it, you feel it stiffen up. You can get a good pop off of that. When you're going through those berms and when you're pumping over those kind of little whoops, you can really feel just how planted the bike feels. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see like if I'm blowing through my travel too much and if I actually like the Coil Shock more on the jump and the flow trail sections. But right now we're gonna go ahead and get this swapped out. And my only concern right now is that there's a couple little washers inside right here that I gotta make sure that I don't drop and lose in the dirt right down there. So let's see how this goes. Also, the rear end's gonna like drop away because I don't have a bike stand with me. So, all right, let's do this. Yeah, this is where that little washer right inside here. And then as soon as I pull this out, that suspension's gonna want to drop away. I'm holding it. There it goes. All right, let it go. Okay, oh, there we go. All right, so that's what I want. Let that ride right down. All right, that's good. That bolt. Get these ones out. Ooh. There we go. Get that bolt up there. This one out. Nothing like swapping your shock out trail side, right? All right, Colton, just help me keep a lookout if this hardware drops. So we can find it. All right. It stayed in there. I'm gonna try and just keep them in there and just go ahead and throw this shock in. A lot of people commented on my last video, they're saying, did you put the shock in backwards? You guys, these shocks like mount in different on each suspension design. So some people will have this shock and the piggyback will be pointed in a different direction. I can assure you this is the right direction to mount these in. Get those threads. Don't cross the threads. Don't cross the threads. You always want to start finger tight, right? There we go, got it.
That's probably the smoothest trail side shock I've ever seen.
Boom. Get this one in. Now the only thing that I didn't bring with me is a torque wrench, so we'll just go 12 Newton meters. This feels good, right? Get that little quarter turn in.
UCI approved.
Yep. All right, now this is gonna be the interesting part. See if I got you. Thank you. It's a tight fit right there. There it goes. Boom. Get that thing in there.
Up, down.
Boom.
Money.
Almost like I've done this before. It's so similar to the Polygon Collosus N9 that, you know, I already had a test run on that bike. All right. Also forgot to mention, you guys, like, the only real big con that people talk about, the difference between the Air and the Coil Shock, is that the Coil Shock is just a little bit heavier. Threw it on the scale, it's like a little over 300 grams heavier. Air Shock for 656 grams and 966 grams. But that's only just like a little over half a pound, which if you think about it, it's like the difference between having like a full or an empty water bottle. And on an e-bike like this, or even a big enduro bike like the Collosus N9 right there, I just don't think the weight matters that much. But now that we got that on there, we got to go ahead, take a look at it. I think the orange looks kind of sweet on that, right? Nice. All right, Coil Shock climb challenge. Let's get it. Bike's having some shifting issues a little bit, I think from towing with it. I don't know. Oh man, struggle bus. I didn't even make it up as high. Whew. Climb challenge complete on that Coil Shock right there. And initially I think I felt more grip, but I definitely did not make it up that climb as high. So did the Air Shock actually perform better on that technical climb? Or am I just getting freaking worn out from riding? I don't know. I don't think there was that much of a difference or enough of a difference between these two shocks to really make a difference on the way uphill. But let's see how it does bombing down through this technical chunk. All right, Coil Shock, drop in. Oh yeah, you could definitely feel the difference on that Coil Shock bombing down right there. Dude, so like on that Coil Shock, you could definitely feel the difference on that chunk right there. It's like, it's almost like it just felt more muted as you're going down through the rocky sections. And definitely as you start to pull on those brakes on the Air Shock, you can feel the rear wheel kind of hopping around a little bit more. And on the Coil Shock, it almost just, it felt just more muted. It felt just a little bit more cushion. You could feel that back wheel hooking up just a little bit better. And I definitely like the way the Coil Shock felt compared to the Air on the downhill chunk. So now it's time to move on to the flow trail, jump and flow. Let's see how it does there. All right, Lizard, jump and flow trail. Let's get it. All right, so jump and flow trail. I'm surprised with like how good this Coil Shock was actually feeling right there. I thought for sure like I was gonna feel a little bit less pop off those jumps, or feel like maybe initially I was blown through the top part of that travel too much and I wasn't able to pop as much, but man, I was boosting those jumps with ease, you know, at my skill level, of course. And actually I felt like those braking bumps you get on flow trails where you come down out of a corner and you hit some braking bumps right before the lip, it muted those braking bumps and it allowed me to feel even more planted going into the jump setup, even better. The initial little part of the travel, yeah, you can feel it, that suppleness that kind of go through that, but that mid-stroke, super supportive on this Fox DHX2 Coil Shock. I was able to pop those jumps when I was landing it, wasn't blowing through the travel, would be set up perfect for the next jump. And in between those jumps, like I said, when you're landing a jump and you kind of get that chatter from those braking bumps going into the next jump, it mutes all those braking bumps. So really, I think on the jump and the flow trails, surprisingly, the Coil performed better. So the Coil is better on the downhill chunk for sure, better on the jump and the flow. On the uphill, I mean, I guess I could feel a tiny bit more traction, but it's really hard to say. I think uphill is really so much just on like leg strength and endurance, and I was a little bit gassed right there from that being my second time climbing. But there you go, Airverse Coil Shock on an e-bike. I think I'm gonna keep this Coil Shock on my e-bike, but I liked it so much on my enduro bike as well. Now I'm gonna have to choose because I only got one of these Coil Shocks. Which one am I gonna keep it on? The Polygon Collosus N9 or the N8E right here? Let me know, drop in the comments. If you guys rode Air and Coil both, which one you guys like? But remember you guys, at the end of the day, it's all about getting stoked, going riding, and having some fun, people.